case you're wondering. Okay, so we're circling in, last three. This is called Naturally. Jinx Moonson, drag queen superstar, sashay by, looking like a 1950s starlet with a smoking a cigarette on a long stem, a fake cigarette naturally, as we're all in a tin can several miles in the air. Donald was grousing to his wife, naturally. It seemed to Bob that he never did anything else. Donald was dressed in a sombrero and poncho, his wife in a generic peasant costume, i.e., a white ruffled blouse with puff sleeves gathered at the wrist and a low neckline falling off her chicken skin shoulders, and a full red skirt gathered at the waist. The whole was beautifully pillowed over layers of white petticoats. The silk skirt was more Grace Kelly than peasant, naturally, but what else could you expect of rich people, thought Bob. Donald's complaint was that most of the attendees weren't dressed for the occasion, that they hadn't a clue as to what the Cinco de Mayo holiday meant, and that anyone who could scrape up enough money to live month to month could live there. He was glaring at Jinx in particular when he said that. Bob's wife, Justine, shrugged her shoulders. What does it matter? We're orbiting the earth, celebrating a holiday for a country that no longer exists. But it mattered to Donald. He couldn't help it. Just like Norma couldn't help clamping her hands tightly in front of her, twisting her hands or personal signs of distress. She was clad in a yellow sundress. It took Bob a moment before he got the connection. Tourist yellow, what you might wear in sunny Mexico. Her distress was Jerry, who couldn't help but hit on her, like he did on every woman and once on Jinx. During a memorable New Year's Eve party, we all assured him that Jinx had looked especially fetching that night. We all acted the way we were, naturally. In his pocket was a pencil. Not just any pencil, but the pencil that Justine had used to write the note. The one that she sent to Nigel, the slender, handsome soap opera star that had come up several months ago. They had a date after the party, and they were to meet in their usual place after Bob would be passed out, naturally. It was the same pencil Bob had used to see what she had written. He had used the homemade spy tradition of laying it on its side and smudging the paper underneath the original note. Bob was what he was, naturally. You could take the coke dealer out of the hood, but could you ever take the hood out of the coke dealer? Nigel had a bevy of women around him, as he always did. Bob tapped Nigel on the shoulder. He turned his head and looked a query at Bob, and Bob took the pencil and shoved it through Nigel's throat until it protruded from the other side. He had sharpened the pencil beforehand, naturally. Okay, this is, for you poetry lovers, a sestina. This is the one that is not published in the book, because I didn't understand instructions. So the one in the book is the not sestina. This is the one that is a sestina. It's called I Found an Orange on Broadway Avenue. A Halloween sestina. We proposed for Witches Abroad on Broadway a costume. As a lure to students, orange and black candy. Dancing at the prom, cell phones caught the ghouls. This stretch of road was full of cool cats. Unlucky ones were left on the side as skeletons. We swept them clear with our broomsticks. Our guns were not as brutal as broomsticks. Bristles hid the phallic end as if in costume. No flesh, just skeleton. Like bags of orange and black candy, they were left full of calico cat. Our familiars, our friends' dinner for a ghoul. They pulled at the ghoul. In the hands of a witch, danger came by broomstick. When ghouls snacked on cat in their orange and black fur costume, tasting sweet like candy, they beat them up and down, but they find another skeleton. Then ghouls came faster, giving birth to others, another skeleton. Vocalizing desire for black and white, red and yellow make orange, a ghoul howls for student-flavored candy. A witch lays out one, then another with her broomstick, removing the face mask and costume, them that can holler their outrage in cat. Your sex was revealed in orange and black on a calico cat. Females cooled themselves of sex, unwilling mates to a skeleton. Once alive, copulating loudly, now in a death costume. Walking upright, a neighborhood was destroyed by a ghoul. Neighbors watched. A witch patrolled on a broomstick. Your students were seen as human candy. One white beater has a juicy rind, sweet and sour candy. At the dance, hors d'oeuvres were made of cat. Shot forward, it can create a hole, can a broomstick. Where stomachs used to be, a skeleton. Death conquers all, no more ghoul. One, now many, properly attired for the dance macabre in costume. I found an orange as broomsticks clean Broadway of cat candy. In my student costume and human face mask, my path is crossed by a cat. It disappeared as if it never was, visible only to death, a skeleton made by a ghoul. One last. This is the Everett debut of a new poem form. Poets, we get hurt and we cry and we dribble it out on paper and then, tell you our story, our sad story. But I'm too lazy. So I'm going to let you do all the work. This is called Our Story on Halloween. That's a pretty costume. Who are you meant to be? And you. Did you think I would know? That bowl was full of candy. You knew me. I was right there, waiting. You were like a zombie. I just wanted a response. I wanted to marry you. Surely you could guess the reason. So, if death comes to your party, would you introduce him to life? Okay, thank you. Happy Halloween.